Do you hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I love? Patreon.com/inkdependence, where patrons get access to a patron-only Discord, ad-free videos, and the joy of knowing they help support this channel. Hello folks, welcome to Inkdependence. I'm Mike, and this little box is from Papier Plume, which is a store in New Orleans, and they will be at the Chicago Pen Show with this ink, and they sent it out for me to show to you, so let's take a look at this ink. All right, here is the ink. This is the Faceless Lady. This is the ink for the Chicago Pen Show this year in 2024. These always have a very nice wax-dipped cap with the fleur-de-lis up there. And this one, they have a new label-making technology. And so I have this nice shiny label that is very fancy. You can see here on the side, the Faceless Lady statue there. We have this nice, like, overarching architectural bit there. The name of the ink, the Faceless Lady. And the Faceless Lady again. So the story behind this is the statue here is of the goddess Ceres, and it sits atop the Chicago Board of Trade building. It was built by this guy, John Storrs, who had a model for this statue, and apparently, according to the article I'm looking at here, she had a very pretty face. The reason that he didn't put a face on it is because this building was so tall, there was no way he thought anybody would ever really see any face on this statue, and so he just didn't do a face. I mean, that would probably take way longer, so why do it? Now, of course, there are way taller buildings around, so you can see the Faceless Lady, but nonetheless, very interesting landmark that I didn't know anything about, and so this is a very interesting sort of, I don't know, muse, I guess, for this ink. You see on the bottom here, this is a shimmering ink. There's some very nice silver shimmer in there, so let's take a look at what this looks like. All right, here we have the Faceless Lady here on the paper. This is the Nebula Casual Note paper that I've gotten really fond of for these reviews. And here's the ink itself. The Faceless Lady has a nice sort of verdigris look to it. You can see there's a lot of silver shimmer there, but when you get the shimmer out of the picture, it's a really nice kind of cool green color that is just very verdigris. That's that sort of, I don't know, that kind of like mossy greenish color that you get on old statues and things of that nature. A little bit of a patina sort of color there. And yeah, I think it's delightful. I really like it here. The flow here, I say, is medium. I've had no problems with this ink flowing or looking good on all kinds of papers. It has been good so far. Performance, I forgot to do, so we'll do that here in just a sec. We'll do it live. Why not? Qualities, silver shimmer. Not a whole lot of what do you call it? Shading on this ink, although there is a little bit, as you can see here, but you don't really see that from the ink in a pen. And the pen I've had it in is this TWSBI Eco, which is the jade color. It looks like it ought to glow in the dark, but does not actually. And it's actually been a delightful accompaniment to this ink. You can see there's a little bit of shimmer. That part was facing down. Let's give it a little bit of a swirl. You can see it goes right back into solution. This shimmer moves around very nicely, which keeps it in suspension and keeps it in your pen as you're writing. It keeps it in the letters, which I like quite a lot. This does have a broad nib, and TWSBI Ecos are excellent with shimmer, but I don't think this is going to give your pen any problems. I've never actually had any problems with the shimmer that Papier Plume has been using in their ink. It has all been great. Here for the comment section, name for the statue of Ceres by John J.H. Storrs. This ink captures the metallic verdigris of the statue remarkably well. Great cool green hue and a nice amount of silver shimmer. Very minimal shimmer movement, even on Tomoe River. I did get a little bit on my finger when I was rubbing it across the deepest pools of it, but in the writing, I haven't had any of it really move. These are 30 ml bottles, and I did confirm with them and forgot to write it down. These will be $15 at the show, and I suppose if there's any left over after the show, they will bring it to their store and sell it online. But you know, if you're at the Chicago Pen Show rather this year, come and see it. All right, let's go ahead and let's go ahead and do this right quick. We'll do the little water drop test and look at the chromatography. As you can see, the chromatography there is very interesting for this ink. It's got a whole bunch of colors going on in there, and I like it when an ink is complicated sometimes. Every once in a while, you like having an ink where you do a chromatography and it's just like blue. But this one has a little bit more going on. We've got shades of violet and shades of gray, and then a surprising bit of like a, I don't know, almost chartreusey sort of gold, and then that bright blue that you sometimes see at the top of green inks. Go ahead and mop this up a little bit. Mop, mop, moppity mop. Yeah. All right. Interesting. So not very much of this came up onto the paper towel there, and a lot of it stayed behind. I think that what we're seeing staying behind there, yeah, the green moved as it did on the chromatography strip, but the gray stayed behind. So if you spill your water on this, it won't be green anymore. It will be gray, but it looks like it's going to stick around. So that's nice. We got a little bit of waterproofness, although not as a green, but nicely as a gray. Okay, let's go ahead and try it out here on this copy paper. This is my Staples 20-pound, 30% recycled copy paper that I've been using for these for these tests forever. So let's go ahead and write this out right quick. Okay, so it looks like it did really well on this copy paper. I'm not really seeing any feathers or anything. Maybe a little bit of spread, but it is a broad nib, so a little bit hard to tell. I'm not seeing anything weird there. It felt good as I was writing. Let's see how the back is. Yeah, the back is pretty typical for this paper, so you're definitely gonna get some show through and some like bleed through or whatever. But nothing went onto the page opposite, so it's really just kind of heavy ghosting. But as you'll see from the rest of these, that is super common. What else? What didn't? These two are not too bad. Oh, this one was barely putting down any ink, and this is Sailor Blue Black, which is extremely well behaved. So yeah, you have to be pretty special in order to not have a whole bunch of bleed through on this 20-pound, 30% recycled copy paper. So I'd say it did just fine. It's pretty average on here as everything else, but no no real bleed, feather, or spread. A little bit of bleed maybe, but pretty good. So first paper here is from our currently inked Inky Fingers book. This is wheat straw paper, and it is sort of like you would expect from sugarcane paper or something like that. Very good for fountain pens, but not super coated or anything like that. And as you can see here, looks very nice with this ink. I think it worked out real well there. Next up, our Galen Leather Everyday book. This is Tomoe River, the old original Tomoe River paper, which is really hard to find these days, but nonetheless a gold standard. And there you go. There's what it looks like on here. It looks really nice, I think. You get a little bit more shading than you would on other papers, which is typical of Tomoe River, but no sheen or anything like that. And the shimmer shows up very nicely, as does the color. So that's cool. All right, time for some color comparisons. Here is Papier Plume's The Faceless Lady on a nice Colodex card. I get these from my friend Anna over at Well Appointed Desk. Find this at a whole bunch of stores, but also wellappointeddesk.com, where you can find their store. So you can see this is a really good color representation, I think, there. Nice amount of shimmer. Really just a cool looking ink, this Faceless Lady. During the live stream when I was making that swatch there, somebody's like, hey, does that look like Sugar Snap Pea? Or rather, Sugar Snap from the Inkvent calendar last year. I was like, you know what, maybe. It turns out though, Sugar Snap is much greener. You can see there if I tilt it. Sometimes you got to tilt them to make sure you can like see past the shimmer. Both do a nice silver shimmer, but this one is much more of a living green, where this one looks like a patinaed metal, or sort of a statue sort of green. Next up, I have Octopus Write and Draw Green Squirrel, which I totally thought was Gray Meerkat. I just mislabeled the card. But this is actually fairly close, I think, in terms of color. The green squirrel is darker than Faceless Lady, but it is definitely pretty similar. Then we have Birmingham Pinko's Chlorophyll, which is not as close. I think it's definitely a brighter green. It's slightly less bright green in person than it is on the camera. Then we have Sailor Kingdom Note Rhacophorus arboreus, which is the Mona tree frog, which is closer, I think, to chlorophyll than it is perhaps to the Faceless Lady. Then this one, which is Colorverse Kepler Collection Somnium, which is definitely a slightly different green. It looks a little bit more like that in person, or it looks a little bit like more alike to the Faceless Lady in person than it does on camera, but pretty close. And I think the closest thing I have is probably Linen Toolbar's Firmament, which is a really nice ink from Linen Toolbar. I think that's probably that's as close as I can get to this ink color. I don't have anything that's exactly like Faceless Lady, but this one comes fairly close. So there you go. All right, and that's kind of it. I didn't do a whole long writing sample with this one. Find this at the Chicago Pen Show. With any luck, I will also be at the Chicago Pen Show. And $15, I think, for this little 1 ml bottle of ink is very nice. And this is a cool ink. So pick one up from Papier Plume while you're there. I don't know, throw it in a Twisby or something. And enjoy the Faceless Lady. Also, enjoy this picture right here of the guy who did the statue of the Faceless Lady, because this is an epic picture. All right, until next time, think about what you put on the world, make it a better place, and I will see y'all later. Until then, peace out.